Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret. Episode 6, Creepy Movies, Suspiria 1977, and Stephen King. We weren't too creative with the titles back in the early episodes. Yeah, we talk about movies that creep us out, that give us the heebie-jeebies. I don't even know what movies we discussed. I'm sure The Exorcist comes up. A lot of people think that The Exorcist is a really scary movie. I like The Exorcist, don't get me wrong. I just didn't see it till later on in life, so I didn't get as scared of it as some other people might have that memory of. I don't know what movie scared me. I know Psycho, the shower scene in Psycho, scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like, I would take a shower as a kid, and I would constantly be like looking out the shower curtain thinking that someone was going to come in, because my mom always said, don't lock the door when you're in the bathroom, because if something happens to you and you fall and you hit your head. My mom, forever instilling the fear of dying at every possible turn, she would say, don't lock the bathroom door, because if you fall and slip and hit your head and you start to drown, who's going to be able to rescue you, because the door is going to be locked. That's always been in my head. No wonder why I got the issues that I have these days. So I constantly like be looking out, because I was like afraid to lock the door because I didn't want to slip and fall and die. And I was afraid to not lock the door because I was afraid someone was going to come in and stab me to death. So there's that. And then Suspiria 1977, I didn't see that movie until later on in life. In fact, I didn't see it until October 14th, 2018, when this episode first aired. I didn't see it till right before that. We all give our thoughts on that movie, and then we talk about the Stephen King movie adaptations of his books. Now, I didn't read a lot of Stephen King. I tried to read his novels. I read his short stories, and I like his short stories. I love his short stories, but I can't get into the novels, man. It's just too much for me. I'm not a good reader, at least of fiction. I like nonfiction more than anything. His books are just so fucking long. You gotta really like reading to read a Stephen King book. I like watching movies. I'll watch a Stephen King book movie about books that were adapted from Stephen King. My favorite, The Shining's gotta be up there, although it's controversial about how good the adaptation was, but The Shining, as far as movies go, based on Stephen King novels, that's up there. And obviously Shawshank Redemption, that's not a horror film, but Shawshank Redemption, which is a good short story as well. Stand By Me, based on The Body, good short story. Those types of stuff. Those are good movies. But then you got other ones that weren't that good. We do later on in our run, we talk about a movie that Stephen King directed and wrote, the only movie he ever directed, Maximum Overdrive. Spoiler alert, it's a piece of shit. So enjoy episode 6 of the Swearwolves Podcast. Like I said, came out October 14th, 2018. Creepy Movies, Suspiria 1977, and Stephen King.
Welcome to the Swearwolves Podcast, the podcast that discusses all things horror. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
I'm Alan.
And this week is episode 6. Six. The sign of the devil. We're going to be talking about things that give us the creeps, the fucking creeps.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It was hard. We were discussing what we were going to discuss, and someone threw out, what movies gave you the heebie-jeebies, the creeps? What movies had scenes that stayed with you for long periods of times? And I honestly couldn't think of one for the longest time. I really couldn't. Like, there's movies that I really like that I think are scary, but there's none. I was discussing this with my wife, of course, and she said The Exorcist, because that movie creeps her out to this day.
Yeah.
But I saw The Exorcist late in life, and I was like, meh, it's all right. It's good, but it didn't creep me out.
It's actually on my list. So I only have a couple old ones and a couple new ones, but The Exorcist is one for me, because I saw it when I was...
Were you religious growing up?
No, and I actually think that's part of why the movie gives me the creeps is, without revealing my personal religious stuff, I'm not a particularly religious person at all. I guess I kind of just did reveal.
Without revealing it.
There it is. But I like to think I'm open to things, and that movie, just the concept of if something like that could happen, that's fucking creepy. So I found that movie just gave me the willies. The scenes where there's like the little flashes on the screen and the little Captain Howdy demon face pops up on the screen. As a kid, scared the shit out of me. It still gives me the creeps. Even when I watch that movie today, still haunts me and just makes me feel a little edgy. And if I'm moving around the house in the dark, like I'm going to turn on the lights after that movie. And then I actually, for work, this is going back several years, I spent some time in Virginia. I was there for about a month. And while I was there on the weekends, I would drive around and go check out different places. And at one point I went down to Georgetown, and I actually went and saw the house where they filmed the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I actually walked down the steps. So at the end of the movie, the steps that Father Karras goes down and dies.
Yeah.
I walked those steps, and it was a really rainy day, and it was a really cold day. It was just before Christmas,
And it still looked the same?
it was a little different because I think there was something that was built onto the house that isn't there anymore, but it still looked relatively the same. But I just remember as I was walking those steps, it's like, I'm gonna slip and I'm gonna break my fucking neck, and it's gonna be the ultimate horror fan
Some
irony.
bad juju.
And I just remember having the willies like the whole time I was there. So that movie definitely has stuck with me.
I like the movie.
Yeah.
I just don't. It didn't creep me out.
Right.
It didn't stay with me. I was just like, oh, that's cool. What about you, Alan? You got a movie?
Oh, yeah.
I have one too, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
The original?
The Donald Sutherland?
The Donald
Sutherland one?
78, I think it was. Late 70s. I had seen this movie a few years ago. It was the first time I've seen it. And what bothered me about this movie is just the subtle way of these aliens from another planet were infiltrating the human race. So it gave me a creep factor. I can't really describe it. It wasn't necessarily scary. It was just the way the movie went along as you were introduced to these characters, and all of a sudden the character wasn't human anymore, but they still had the same appearance.
Well, and then there's that creepy scene where they like scream, like isn't he like
Right.
Isn't Donald Sutherland like pointing
Yeah, that's
and he's
at
all
the end.
Oh, yeah.
But as the movie begins, you're introduced to this couple, and the wife and the husband, they're a normal couple. But as it goes on, the guy starts to change. He's almost like emotionless and just kind of goes on about his day and has no really interaction with his wife, and she's wondering what's going on. And then she meets with some friends, and the same thing is happening to them. And as the movie goes on, you start to realize something isn't right. And what's happening is these aliens, these pods are forming, and they're taking these humans as they sleep, and they're absorbing basically all their qualities, all of their memories, everything, and it leaves them into like a shriveled, like nothing. Like they basically die, and they're replaced with an alien version of them.
Yeah.
So as the movie goes on, humans are starting to basically be replaced by these alien visitors as they're taking over the planet. And it's not the scariest movie, but it gave me the creeps.
As a kid, did you think maybe that could happen to you?
Well, as a kid, I didn't watch it as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said you did.
No, it was just a few years ago that I watched this movie.
So you were scared of this as a grown man?
No, it's not.
Jesus.
It's not. No, it's not scary.
It's
but
creepy.
It's creepy. It's creepy to think
It
about.
stayed with you.
Yeah, because it's something that.
You're a wuss.
Yeah. I don't,
Did you guys see Poltergeist as a kid?
Yes.
Because Poltergeist is one that made my list, and that movie gave me the creeps.
When the guy rips his face off.
Yeah.
And the meat.
Yeah,
going
and
across
the clown, the tree. That movie I thought had a bunch of scary elements, and I saw that at a pretty young age. I was probably, I mentioned in an earlier episode, I saw The Thing. I was probably like 8 or 9, and I was probably around the same age too the first time I saw Poltergeist.
So I saw Poltergeist probably right after it came out, because I was like in that age range. Like I was born in 77. Poltergeist came out in probably like 82.
82.
So I was like 5. I probably saw it when I was 6 or 7, because it wasn't like rated R or anything.
Well, I think that was back in the day when they didn't even have PG-13. So
No.
that movie definitely would have been PG-13, I think, today.
And it did scare me. But the stuff that gave me the creeps as a kid was, you guys know Adam Walsh?
Oh, yeah.
John Walsh.
John Walsh's son.
Yeah. So we were about
America's
the
Most
same
Wanted.
age. Yeah. John Walsh, America's Most Wanted host. His son, Adam, was kidnapped from a store. And I know this is real and it's probably going to be a downer. Sorry. But he was kidnapped and got murdered. And they found his head And I remember hearing this. I had a cousin named Adam, and when I heard my parents talking about it, I thought they were talking about my cousin.
Ooh.
And so I was like really sad. But then I would lay in my bed going, is someone going to come in and snatch me?
Oh, yeah.
So like more real stuff
Yeah.
gave me the creeps. So this is going to bring me to what movie gave me the creeps. When I was growing up, there was really popular movies called Faces of Death.
Oh yeah.
But those were all all like
Documentary.
Well, it wasn't a documentary.
It was
though.
like footage.
But I remember when it
was
came
like,
out.
No,
it was fake.
It was fake.
But I remember
Well, I'm
at the
thinking
time
of
the way,
Traces
but
of
the,
Death.
well, the way
Yes.
it was marketed was that it was real. And I remember
It
as a kid,
was.
like that was always the rumor, like, oh, this
Yeah.
is real people.
It was
dying.
banned in 40 countries.
Yeah,
None of it true. And it was all written, scripted. But yes, Alan, you're right. Traces of Death. I saw Traces of Death 1. And the one scene from that movie that stuck with me, that gave me the creeps and still does, is the scene where R. Bud Dwyer,
Oh yeah. He
who
shot
was
himself.
the treasurer for the state treasurer for this Pennsylvania, shot himself with a 357 on live on TV, and it was rebroadcast on TV later.
Yep.
He was convicted of bribery, and he was going to lose his seat. They were asking him to step down, and he was like, "Fuck this! I'm not stepping down. I'm not leaving till I die." And in his press conference, he's like, "I'll die in office." And then he pulls out from an envelope a 357 and shoots himself. The camera, one of the cameras points right at him.
It's crazy.
And the blood that flows from this guy's
It comes out his nose. Yeah.
is
It's so
the most
it's-
grotesque thing. And after I saw that, I vowed to myself that I would never watch any like real stuff like that. So I remember like years ago, there was a beheading that happened
Yeah.
to somebody like over in Iraq or whatever. And people were like, "Oh, you got to see this." I'm like, "No, that's
No,
gross.
no,
I don't want to see that shit. I like horror movies,
Yeah, I don't want to
but
see
I don't
the real
like
stuff.
real stuff. I don't like bad things happening to people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I like watching fake shit happen." But the interesting thing is, there was a song written about that guy.
Faith No More song. Is that the
No,
one?
no.
Oh, Hey Man, I Shot.
Yeah,
There-
by Filter.
Yeah,
By the way, I know you're a big 9 Inch Nails fan.
yeah.
For the longest time, I thought that was 9 Inch Nails.
Well, you know what's funny? Little Nine Inch Nails trivia for you. Richard Patrick, the lead singer of Filter, was once a member of Nine Inch Nails.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad because I told my wife, I go, "Isn't that 9 Inch Nails that sings it?" And she's like, "No."
He was her touring guitarist, I think, real early on.
My wife got so offended that I thought 9 Inch Nails sang that song, and I was like, "Well, David's the biggest 9 Inch Nails fan. I wonder if I should even mention this to
I
him."
want to say he played guitar in like one song on one of their albums, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. If,
But it sounded to me like
Yeah.
I'm not a huge 9 Inch Nails fan, but that song, "Hey Man, Nice Shot," sounded to me like
and there is a
Trent
song.
Reznor
There is a song by Faith No More called "The World Is Yours" that samples that suicide. Like it's real faint in the background, but you hear him like. He's like
He's
you hear people
talking.
screaming and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and the
Don't
chorus,
shoot, don't
the
do it.
chorus of the song, and it's not Bud Dwyer's voice; it's Mike Patton singing it, but he says, "This will hurt someone,"
Oh,
which is what Dwyer said right
Yes.
before he shot himself. So that's kind
It's
of like
awful.
the main hook of the song.
It's awful, and it gave me the heebie-jeebies. It gave me the chills. I couldn't do that. But I want to bring this back to like fictional movies. There was another movie that I saw that gave me the creeps. It's called The Rapture, and it's about like the end of the world. And at the end of the movie, it's like the apocalypse has come, and this woman like denounces God because her kid has died, her husband has died, and she and like her kid comes to her and is like, "No, come with me." And she's like, no, God would ever allow this to happen to you. And so God's just like, I gave you a chance. And she's stuck on this island by herself for the rest of eternity. And it scared the shit out of me because I was like, and I'm not a religious guy either, but at the time I was young and I saw this and I was more religious, and it gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I have a couple modern, like just newer movies. The Conjuring. You see The Conjuring?
Another religious. See, isn't that kind of religious?
I mean,
Yeah,
it
ghosts.
deals with a little bit of
Yeah.
possession and ghosts. I just found that movie to be like the movies that scare me the most. The ones that stick with me tend to be atmospheric movies that
Yeah.
don't necessarily have a whole lot of visual scares, but more of what's implied, and just like that creepy, eerie factor. But I thought that was one. And then another one that I really like, and I think this is one that's kind of a polarizing movie, because I also know a lot of people who thought it was terrible, but has almost no special effects, and I found to be very effective, was It Follows.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I saw that movie. It was good.
And I just thought the concept of someone following you that you don't know, and that sense of paranoia of always looking over your shoulder and wondering if there's somebody there, and that the concept of the movie, the thing that is following her never stops. You know, so you can sleep, you can you can drive as far away as you want, and it's just gonna keep coming.
Yeah.
And that I thought that movie was really creepy. Yeah. And the music in that movie, which is done by Disaster Piece, has just a really great haunting score that it kind of reminded me a little bit of early 80s John Carpenter-esque type stuff.
Yeah, very brooding soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other creep movies, Alan?
Yeah, I was going to say The Fog. I saw that as a kid on, I think it was Monster Vision, and the ending where they're all in the church and the pirates are coming to get them, the zombie pirates. So it was, I don't know, it was something creepy about watching that when I was a kid. I was definitely creeped out. That was a very eerie movie.
Yeah,
very
atmospheric.
Yeah, very dark. And the part where I think it's Father Joseph. I think his name's Joseph, but the priest who was the lineage of the settlers who stole the gold. It seems like he gets spared, but then they come back and kill him anyways, and that always kind of creeped me out when I was a kid. But
The Fog. The first time I saw it, that was a movie I did not see when I was young, so I was an adult the first time I saw it, and I just bought it on DVD or something, and I was watching it, and my dog, who just barked a few minutes ago, so that'll probably be on here, she was sitting at my side, and there's a scene where like there's a sign or something that breaks, and it kind of hangs, and it makes like a little squeaky, like, and I remember when it happened, my dog was sitting next to me and just went ape shit, and like her head kept tilting like like back and forth, like every little noise it made. I thought it was weird that she started barking as you were talking about that movie.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I don't know, I don't necessarily get creepy feelings from horror movies. Like I just enjoy them. You know, it's like somebody watching a comedy film or somebody watching an action film. Like when I watch a horror movie, I'm just like thrilled, you know, like not happy, thrilled, but just like thrilled. And a lot of the imagery doesn't stay with me. It's just very select things. And, you know, we touched on it a little bit. Religious movies tend to be more creepy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like we said, The Exorcist or The Rapture that I talked about earlier, or, you know, any of these films that have to deal with like possession or, you know, the Prophecy, that movie with Christopher Walken, that movie kind of is like, oh, you know, it's like the end of the world type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a movie that did not give me the creeps was Suspiria. We're going to talk about that.
And that's a movie that...
let's talk about that right now.
Because it gives a lot of people the creeps, and I think we are three people who don't feel that way.
No, and as a matter of fact, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on this movie, but I'm going to flat out tell you, I did not like the movie.
I like Suspiria. I do not love it, but there's elements about it that I think are really, really cool. That I like.
There's things that I like.
But overall,
but not the
do I think
story.
Suspiria is a good movie? I don't.
I don't like the story or the plot.
And I'm actually looking forward to the remake.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I
want to see if they make it good.
Yeah.
Alan, what are your thoughts?
It's regarded as Dario Argento's most popular movie. It's not my favorite. That happens to be Tenebrae. But with Dario Argento, his earlier films, I think his first film was The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and I think it was 69 or 68. It might be 70, but
he's been around forever.
Yeah, he's been around a while. But his films, his earlier stuff started off as like Hitchcock type thrillers and mysteries, but with a little more blood. But when he met his girlfriend, Daria Nicolodi, she kind of inspired more of a supernatural element in his movies. I prefer his mysteries. I like Phenomena. It has a little supernatural in it. I like Inferno. It's more the same. I like those movies better than Suspiria, but Suspiria still remains to be one of his most popular movies.
How come all horror geeks regard Suspiria as being one of the best horror films of all time.
I think what it is the soundtrack for that movie is iconic. But it comes across as very colorful. It's
well, let's talk about the color, because
visually it's a really stunning movie.
it is.
It
It's
looks
stunning.
amazing.
And Dario Argento, I was looking this up earlier. My wife actually pointed this out to me. He was quoted as saying he wanted to replicate the Technicolor of Snow White,
right.
Walt Disney's Snow White.
Yes.
And I thought, well, as we were watching the movie,
I'd say he was successful.
no, yeah, as we were watching the movie, I was like, wow, these colors are beautiful. What do they mean? And they didn't mean shit.
Right.
So when it was red, it was just red to be red. When it was green, it was just green to be green. It wasn't like, well, when it's red, that means this person's going to die this way. Or when it's green, that means this person is going to die that way or survive or whatever. It was just red, green, and blue, just to be bright red, green, and blue, and to give it a cartoony effect almost. And it was one of the last films ever filmed in Technicolor.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he used one of the last Technicolor cameras in Europe to film that. In 1978, they were going away from Technicolor, and he filmed it in Technicolor. So that's kind of interesting. And I thought the cinematography was beautiful, and I thought the production value was beautiful. I just thought the plot and the story and the acting and the script were lame.
Yeah, the way it's shot reminds me a lot of Hitchcock's movies.
Yeah.
To your point, the cinematography, some of the
Yeah.
angles that they use.
Very Hitchcock angles.
I love all the colors. I didn't really pick up on the lack of symbolism stuff, but I think all the reds and greens and blues, I thought enhanced it. And because to your point, I would agree, plot-wise, script-wise, acting-wise, that stuff didn't really pull me in. What pulls me in when I do watch that movie, and that's when I watch about once a year, is always the visuals, because it's just a neat movie to look at.
Yeah,
and of course, to Alan's point, also the score by Goblin.
Yeah, the Europeans kind of have, it's from 77. So I mean, the acting is a
78.
little dated.
78, right?
77, I think.
Oh, I thought it was the 40th anniversary.
Last year,
Oh
year
my
it was.
God.
But no, the acting is very exaggerated. It's very almost like stage performance. So I can recognize where the acting is a little off.
Okay,
It's
so
by like today's standards, but
so if we're going to talk about greatest horror films of all time and people saying Suspiria 1977, well, what other movie came out around that time? Halloween?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, Halloween, 78.
I wouldn't call Suspiria one of the greatest horror films of all time.
I wouldn't either.
I would rank Tenebrae above Suspiria.
I would agree. That's a good movie, but that's more giallo than like.
Yeah, it still falls under the the horror genre. I would say.
Yeah, but that supernatural element.
Now,
No, there's no supernatural.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
element
In Tenebrae, not really.
No,
Suspiria.
but it's definitely slasher.
Suspiria was the first of a trilogy that Dario Argento planned about these witches, right?
I believe yes.
So there was a second film,
Inferno.
Inferno, that happened in the 80s. And then the third film didn't come out until the 2000s.
Right.
Now,
Mother of Tears.
yes. Now, the thing about Suspiria that I was kind of disappointed in was the fact that we didn't know why these witches were doing what they were doing. This American girl comes, she wants to join the greatest ballet school in Germany, in the world. And she comes from New York. She comes to Germany. Some weird shit starts happening. They not poison her, but they keep her kind of sedated and away from everybody. And she's in her room and she's drinking this wine each night that's knocking her out. And then finally, her friend goes missing, dies. Oh, that was a creepy scene when the girl was escaping and she falls into the razor wire.
Yeah, it definitely has its moments.
Yeah. But no, not the opening. The later on when the friend is escaping and she escapes through the window.
Yeah.
And it leads into another room and she drops.
The opening's pretty brutal too, though.
It
Yes.
is. It is. By the way, my 6-year-old daughter watched that with
Uh-oh.
me. And she goes, what just happened to her?
Uh-oh.
And I was
She's sleeping.
She's
That's
and then she
catch-up.
goes,
She's just hanging around.
she goes, did they make her into a puppet?
Yes.
And I go, yes.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm a good father. Regardless. So her friend goes missing, and then she's like, well, I'm going to investigate this. And she finds out where the lair for these witches are. And then, like, not the head witch, because the head witch is that old hag, but the head of the school is in there.
Yeah.
And she's like, we got to kill that American bitch. It's like, well, why the fuck didn't you kill her the last 2 weeks you've had her holed up?
Yeah.
Like what? Why? Why do you want to kill her? Like, what? Like, I want to know why.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Like-
motives are in short supply as far as explanations are concerned in this movie. They really don't get into much.
I think
of
visually
anything.
it was good. I think
Yeah.
production value, you know, the music, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I like the music just fine. The music was almost like another character in the film.
Yeah, I would
and
agree.
it took away from some of the stuff that was happening because I was like, oh, I need to listen to this. And I wish
It was very abundant.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of screaming and a lot of.
And it is kind of repetitive too. I remember the first time I saw the movie. Now I like the music, but I remember the first time I saw it, I found it distracting. It felt like it was the same motif. Over
Well,
and
that's what I'm
over
saying.
again.
It's like something that's happening that I feel like I need to pay attention to, but there's also something else happening that I need to pay
Right.
attention to.
Yeah.
When the blind guy gets mauled by his dog, that was kind of cool.
It's pretty
Yeah.
fucked up. Like that dog.
Yeah.
He does a job.
Yeah.
Really eats him real nice. Like man's best friend, my ass.
Yeah. But it was
Bad
just
dog.
like I said, there's the opening scene that's pretty fucked up. There's the razor wire killing. There's the dog mauling. Okay, so it's like these 3 scenes, but there's no story. And
then-
that's what's lacking. It's like
Yeah.
gore just to have
Yeah,
gore.
and the poor blind guy before his dog eats him gets fired. So
yeah, but
he had a-
why?
just a
why?
shitty
I
day.
didn't even understand
And
why
when he
they-
gets fired, like he's like, "You bitch!"
Yeah, but why did that bitch fire him?
Yeah,
Because his dog, they showed a scene where
Yeah.
his dog bit
where
somebody,
the maid
right?
and the boy
Yeah.
are walking and they see the dog and they're
the-
planning something.
Yeah.
But you don't see what happens.
No.
All you hear about is the dog attacking the boy supposedly.
Oh.
So that's why they get rid
That's
of.
where I got lost because I was like, why did they fire him? The dog didn't do shit.
It's a movie that took me a second viewing to catch some things.
I want to know about that boy because you know that boy isn't a boy. He's like a man
Well,
not a man, but he's like older than what he is. That's what I got.
sometimes
He's
you
not the
know,
nephew.
Sometimes with these movies, not everything is explained to us. And sometimes it's just left to the imagination.
Yeah.
Like we don't know why Michael Myers is the way he is,
I okay, I get that, but again, like in this film, I felt like I needed something more.
Sometimes you need to
Yeah.
go there, or at least,
I
at
at
least,
least need-
at least explain a little bit.
Yeah.
I needed something more than what was given to me.
Yeah, and I see your point. It's not my favorite Argento. I don't even think I would put it in my top 5.
You know what I thought was weird? And correct me if maybe there was an explanation, but that dog was a seeing eye dog, right?
Correct.
Why did he not bring the dog into his job? Like he left the dog outside, which I found strange. Like if you have a seeing eye dog, wouldn't you bring the dog with you indoors?
I think that was his place of work. I think he may have been familiar with it. He was only there to play the piano.
I guess so. But I mean, if you're working like a 9 to 5, you're like, all right, dog, you hang out here for the next 8 hours. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a little bit. Just hang here. Don't bite anybody.
I don't know. Maybe things
he
are
won't-
different.
he
over
won't-
there.
Don't get me fired.
He won't see him in a little bit.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good point. I'll see you never.
I'll see you never.
But something to
touch you
mention,
later.
Claudio Simonetti, one of the original band members of Goblin, he has a new lineup, his version of Goblin. They're currently on tour. So they'll be playing at the Marquee Theater.
They'll be here in Phoenix, but they're playing all across the country. So if you're
Yeah.
listening from other places, check
It
them out.
is kind of interesting and it is kind of intriguing.
And they're
to
gonna
go down there and listen to them do a live score.
Yeah, they're gonna play the score of the movie as the movie plays on screen.
That would be interesting.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be neat. I'm looking forward.
Have you
to
seen
it.
them before?
I saw 4 of the 5 original members. So he's the 5th member. But the other 4 members did a tour of their own. They've done about 3 or 4 tours in the last
So
5,
they're like
5 or 6 years.
They're like the Temptations. Like no one owns the name. They can just go out and say we're the Temptation.
yeah,
We're
so
Goblin.
So there's Goblin, and then there's Simonetti's Goblin. So I mean, they came to an agreement.
Can I start one?
Yeah, go for it.
Brett's Goblin.
Brett's. Oh.
Oh, that sounds like the name of like an adult film.
Or like what's my penis.
What's Brett Goblin today?
It's like Pumpkinhead. Only my penis is alive. Brett's Goblin.
Oh, gross.
Oh, that is gross. All right, so Suspiria, if you had to give it heads, Jason Voorhees' mom's heads.
Out of 5?
Yeah, out of 5.
I go 3.
I'd go 3.5.
I go 2.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm giving it low.
Tough
I'm sorry.
critic.
I give it 2 stars for visuals.
Yeah, the
That's
visuals,
it.
music, yeah. But,
I'm
story,
sorry to all these Suspiria fans. And if you're a Suspiria fan and you want to convince me, maybe I do need to watch the movie again. Maybe I need to watch the Blu-ray. Maybe I need to go see Goblin and appreciate. Maybe I need to watch other Argento films too, because this is the only.
I would say, yeah, if someone has never seen a Dario Argento movie, I would not start with Suspiria.
See, and that's what bugs me, because like everybody I've ever read about or talked to says, watch Suspiria. It's great.
It's visually
Why?
stunning.
Why?
But
I think Tenebrae and I think Deep Red is
Deep
also
Red
better.
is
All right.
fantastic.
All right, so I'll have to watch some other Argento films, but moving on from there, films that I have seen are movies based on Stephen King novels. Have you guys ever read a Stephen King novel?
I tried to back. This is probably like junior high or
I think
high
everybody's
school.
got the I tried to read
Yeah,
it.
and I need to try again because as I've gotten older, obviously I feel like I'm a more patient person. But I remember as a kid trying to read one, and I don't remember what it was, but I felt like he spent like 10 pages describing someone's pair of pants or something.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
no, I can't do this, and I just stopped. I don't even remember what book it was, but I couldn't do it.
I tried reading it, and that book was over 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
The movie's 3 hours, over 3 hours.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But I've read some of the short stories. I've read The Long Walk, which I would highly recommend. It's not a horror story, but The Long Walk. I read Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. And I read The Body, which is what Stand By Me is based on. So I read a lot of the ones that aren't horror. I tried to read it, and I got about 100 pages in, and I was like, I'm done. I'm tapping out. Because, again, to David's point, it's a lot of, there's backstory to the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how the guy can write. I mean, I give props where props are due. He's a great author, probably one of the greatest American authors ever. But he can spill out books. I mean, he must have made a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that guy's he's prolific for sure.
Yeah. Alan, do you ever read a Stephen King novel?
No.
Do you ever try?
No.
Okay.
I don't have the time.
Yeah.
There's a new Netflix movie. I think it's called 1922.
That was on my list, actually.
Have you read that?
I never read it, but I watched the Netflix movie.
Was it good?
I actually really enjoyed it.
Because going back to the Bud Dwyer Faith No More thing, Mike Patton of Faith No More did the score to that movie.
Nice.
And I've wanted to watch it. I'm a big Patton fan. But I still need to check it out.
Yeah, my wife and I watched it. We really dug it. It is good. It's not creepy, but there is some creepy elements to it, and there's some. I would definitely put it in the good category of Stephen King films.
Awesome. I gotta
What's your
check that out.
favorite? What's your favorite Stephen King movie, Alan?
Well, I would probably say Carrie.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like Carrie.
You know, you watch that movie and you kind of know what's going to happen. And when you get to the prom scene, you know, as I watch it, I've seen it before. And to this day, when I still watch it, I'm like, you know, I don't want it to happen. Please don't let it happen to her. Because you feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
And, but once it happens, it's like, all right, time to raise some hell. Like, you know,
Don't you feel like you're almost empathetic with her? Because
absolutely.
like I feel a lot of the stuff that she goes through. Maybe I didn't necessarily go through the same.
No, but you can empathize, like what it's
Yeah.
like to feel like an outsider
And be
to
bullied.
and made fun of.
Totally. Like
whenever I watch it, I think back to high school, and I think of girls that I knew in high school that sat alone or sat, you know, with one or two people, and then you had all the cliques in the lunchroom, you know, and they weren't necessarily picked on, but you know, there was something about them.
But they were still outsiders.
They were outcasts, outsiders, you know, and I hung out with a lot of those kids, and you know, a lot of those kids were really cool. But
did you ever have that? And I'm sure there's guy versions of this, but for me, there was this girl in high school who I thought was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
But she was not popular.
Yeah.
And she was an outcast. And I thought she was prettier than the most popular cheerleader that we had.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and you know, through Facebook or connecting with people over the years, like, she has a very successful life and she has all this stuff going for her, and all the popular cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna say,
maybe
yeah,
not so much.
she's all their bosses now.
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
like, yeah, we've all got. Like,
and there's
those
probably the
people-
guy version of that too. Like this guy that girls, it's probably me. That girls wanted to date, but they just couldn't because he was such a nerd.
Yeah.
It definitely is me.
I think it was me too.
So Carrie is a definite a good film. Sissy Spacek gives such a good performance, huh?
She really does.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah. What about you, David? You have a favorite Stephen King?
I do, and I feel like it's the obvious, but The Shining.
Yeah.
And I know he wasn't, and I think he's come around a little bit, but I know he wasn't originally a fan of Kubrick's version of it. I really like The Shining. I'm a big Kubrick fan, just in general, but the way the movie is shot, I think it's actually a good movie. We're talking about Suspiria earlier. Visually, there's some similarities there. At least I feel like Argento might have been. I don't know if he was inspired at all by Kubrick. Kubrick does it 1,000 times better. Let's be very clear about that. But just like the use of color and, you know, some of these wide
symbolism.
Yeah.
Kubrick doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
But The Shining, I really like. It's a long movie. It's a slow paced movie, and I like that. It's a slow burner for sure. And I remember the first time I saw The Shining, I thought it was boring. And that's a movie now. It's a staple. I watch it I watch it every year, at least once.
Can I?
But I love it.
Can I ask you a question about The Shining?
Yeah.
What does the ending mean?
Like, the final shot with the
ending. What is the ending?
Are you talking about with the photo?
Yeah.
I guess it's like he was always there. Like he was always a part of the hotel. Like, yeah. Do I think he was actually there in the past? I don't know. I don't really understand. I'm not going to pretend to understand the way the movie ends.
I wonder how the book ends, because the book doesn't end that way.
No.
I think that was a Kubrick decision.
But I do like it.
Did you watch the Steven Weber
I did not.
made for TV one? Because apparently that one was closer to the novel.
Yeah, but I also heard it wasn't very good. But I don't know.
It starred Steven Weber. I loved Wings.
Yeah.
But not.
Christine's another good one.
I love Christine.
Christine was one of the earlier horror movies that I ever remember seeing. I remember my sister's friend came over with a couple of VHS movies, and we watched Christine was one of them.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it to be like a slasher.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was Christine. It was a killer car, a possessed car. And I almost want to read the book because and I haven't seen the movie in a while. Did you watch this the other day?
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions about Christine. What was it possessed with? The spirit of its old owner?
We don't know.
I don't think that was ever addressed.
Yeah, you know,
At least not in the movie.
I like the fact that we don't know.
Okay. John Carpenter directed this, by the way, so
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
blow him some more.
It does show you,
Because we always do.
Yeah, and the score is really good. So yeah, just it's a Carpenter love fest.
All it does is take you back to 1957 Detroit on the assembly line.
Okay.
And they show you it. They show you the car on the assembly line.
It's a Plymouth Fury, right? Is that
Yes.
what it was?
So we don't know why.
We don't know why.
So there has to be something on the book.
Yeah, probably.
King would not just say, "Oh, this car is possessed."
Yeah,
He
King would have
go-
spent.
He would be
and
like,
lots of pages
"This metal
talking about
was
it.
discovered by some Celtic warriors back
on
in."
an ancient
Yeah.
burial ground
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
So
But,
there had to be something
I
to
kind
it.
of like that we don't know,
Yeah.
and it just kind of takes you right into the story, starting with it on the assembly line.
But go ahead.
Well, something about this movie, I thought it was very romantic.
Well, okay. Okay, now I'm not going to say anything. Explain.
Is there a deleted scene involving the tailpipe?
Well, no, but just the connection between Arnie and the car. Just
You think it was a romantic relationship? Why did he call it Christine?
Yeah, he had a connection with the car. He loved that car.
Just the connection with the car, and it doesn't have to be. Connections don't have to be in a physical way.
No, I
understand. You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But why did he call it Christine?
That was because the guy who sold him the car told him her name is Christine.
Ooh.
And they treated it as.
So who was the guy who sold him the car?
He was the brother of the original owner who ended up killing himself. He hooked up a hose to the tailpipe. I think that's what they said, and he ended up killing himself with carbon monoxide poisoning.
Huh.
But the old man was also telling Arnie's friend, because Arnie's friend didn't want him to buy the car. Arnie was just absolutely infatuated with this car. He ended up buying it. And then the friend went back to the old man. He's like, hey, he shouldn't have bought that car. Why'd you do that? And, the guy's like, you don't know shit, kid. And the guy starts telling him about the car.
Yeah.
And about the previous owner and how his 5-year-old daughter died in the car and his wife ended up dying, and it was all under mysterious circumstances. And so,
so like the car was jealous of the women in his life.
Yeah. Basically,
and killed them.
Only
attached
but
to
he's like, please sell
owner.
me this car.
Yeah.
I simply must have it.
Yeah.
So as the movie went on, Arnie started changing.
Well, that's what I was going to get to was Arnie, to go along another Stephen King trope. Arnie was a nerd.
Yeah.
He wasn't really that popular. And then as
he developed an attitude,
he gets
changes.
the car gives him confidence,
Yeah.
and
Right.
he feels empowered and emboldened.
But
and,
then he feels
he turns
like-
into a real piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a dick, and he, really gets possessive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not only of the car, but of like,
And he thinks everyone is jealous.
yeah, everybody's jealous of him. His best friend is now all of a sudden
Yeah.
jealous of him because of the car. The car really plays a psychological role on him. And is the car possessed, or is it just Arnie going mad? That's a good question, right? Does Arnie just go mad over the car and he sees this, or is the car really possessed? It's an interesting question, and we always talk about this. When you start talking about theories, that means it's a good film.
Did either of you see the a couple of years ago, Carpenter did an updated music video of Christine theme, and there's like a new music video that has the car in it, and there's a new girl, and it's only like maybe 3.5-4 minutes. It's real short.
Yeah.
But it's cool. And then Carpenter's got a cameo at the end, he opens the door, and I think he's in it, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
Oh, I think I see.
You have to post that.
It's
you
cool.
have to post
Yeah,
a
it's worth
link to
checking
that
out.
on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say this really quick about Christine. It's not my favorite Carpenter movie, but it's one of my favorite soundtracks.
Yeah, very good.
And he closed his Dave, you were at the show. He closed his concert with the performance of Christine. I think that was the best song he could close with.
That's right. You were at that show too, right?
Yeah.
We were both there?
Yeah.
That was a really cool show. So, Carpenter did a tour. It was, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
It was the night the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA Finals, because I remember listening to the end of the game in my car, and then when the game was over, I was like, all right, and then I went in and watched the show. That was a really cool show.
Yeah.
Cool. I wasn't there.
It was awesome.
So a couple of Stephen King films that I really like. I really like It, the miniseries. I don't like the new It.
You didn't like the new one?
No.
I haven't seen it
I
yet.
I liked it.
Was it
I
good?
thought it was good. Yeah.
Was it better than the original?
No.
No?
I
Brett
don't
says no. Dave is undecided.
I want to say yes. I actually really liked it.
See, this is where our bromance
I'll,
ended.
I'll tell you guys about it, but
episode.
Brett, go ahead. I'll tell you guys something about it, though.
I really like the miniseries, and maybe it was that time in my life where the kids were my age when it was on, because I was about 12, 13 years old when it aired, and that's how old those kids were in the movie. And I don't know. I really thought it was one of the better miniseries on at the time. That's what we had back in the late 80s, early 90s.
It's good.
And the new movie, not that Not that it was necessarily bad. I just really like Tim Curry as Pennywise more so than the new Pennywise. And I like the kids. Oh, I like the kids from the new one too.
It's funny. I like the kids in the new one, but I would agree. I think Tim Curry is the superior Pennywise.
Yeah, I thought this Pennywise was just too much.
And to be honest with you, I don't even know if it was necessarily the actor or even like the makeup or like the teeth were kind of weird.
I think the makeup.
Yeah.
I think it was the makeup.
I remember the teeth in particular I thought were kind of strange.
Yeah, but I really like the miniseries. I really do. Alan, you watched this last night, didn't you? Or this morning?
This morning, yeah.
You watched the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's what I said to him. We were driving
I woke
up here.
at 5
Are you
o'clock.
exhausted? Jesus Christ.
I said that's 4 hours long.
Yeah,
Well,
no shit.
It's, you know what? I've read a lot about it over the years.
Had you never seen it?
I had only seen parts of it, but
Why
I
do
have
we
never
keep saying
seen it
it?
all the way through. Well, it's like Stephen King's It. So
No,
Stephen
just keep saying
King's
it. I've seen it.
It. It had always been regarded as like such a great movie and so scary and all this stuff. When I watched it all the way through, I was kind of waiting for it to end.
Well, it's not scary.
It's not scary, but
Tim Curry is creepy.
he's creepy.
When he gets poor Georgie at the beginning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's poor Georgie.
It's more sad though.
Yeah, it is sad.
It's a little more brutal in the new one.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very
I could
brutal.
imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, 1990, maybe people then, thought it was scary,
Yeah.
but now I don't think it stands a test of time.
I mean, again, it's a made for TV
Yeah.
mini series.
Right.
So it was a 2-night event, and it was good for what it was. But again, I enjoy that version of Stephen King's
Yeah.
It more than the new one. Now they're making a second part to it because there's a second part to the story when they're all older and they come back to Derry. It'll be interesting to see what happens
Yeah.
in that and who they get cast to be. Because I thought the kids did a good job.
Yeah.
In the new one.
I thought in the original some parts kind of dragged on. Some of the acting was a little, over the top.
Well, the adult acting.
Yes.
Yes.
The kids were great.
The kids made it.
And the kids
Yeah.
are really good in the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, just some of the scenes where
Well, you got fucking John Boy Walton as the main character. You got John Ritter, R.I.P. You got who else is in there? Like I said, Tim Curry does a great job as Pennywise. Harry Anderson as Richie.
Harry Anderson,
That's right.
rest in peace.
Oh yeah.
he did
died too.
die.
Yep.
Aw, now you just saddened me.
This is a sad episode.
Oh, this is a
But no-
sad episode. Let's talk about something more fun. Another Stephen King movie I liked. Misery.
Yeah,
Misery.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually looking at my list and I was like, oh man, I should have mentioned Misery. Misery's great.
God, it was on TV not that long ago. My wife and I were watching it, and it was right at the part where she breaks his fucking ankles.
With a sledgehammer.
Oh my God.
Oh.
It's such a good movie.
It's a great movie. Kathy Bates is
Kathy
fantastic.
Bates-
James Caan's
James
great.
Caan.
Like,
Well,
just a
yeah.
great movie.
I mean, that's the cast, right? Well, and then there's the old guy who's the sheriff who does a phenomenal job.
I can't remember his name.
That's just a great movie.
But Kathy Bates obviously deserved the Oscar for that one, right?
Absolutely. Have you guys seen it's like a viral video of a woman that goes into a bookstore and she's demanding a book written by James Caan's character. I can't remember his- but she does the whole Kathy Bates spiel. But what's really funny, and it just goes to how fucking dumb people are on the internet, is like how this has become a thing of like all people reposting of like, oh, look at this crazy, unreasonable, insane lady at a bookstore. It's like, it's a joke.
It's a
Like-
joke. Fucking idiots. Pet Cemetery.
I like Pet Sematary as well.
Yeah.
That scene where the kid
Slices,
oh my God.
slices Fred Gwynn's Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Awful.
That's a good movie. What about Creepshow? The Creepshow movies.
Creepshow 1 and 2.
Yeah.
By the way, Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2, and Tales from the Dark Side.
Right.
They always regard Tales from the Dark Side as being the third Creepshow movie because basically it should have been. But they decided to call it Tales from the Dark Side, I guess based on the success of the TV show, but really, I believe it was Savini who did Tales from the Dark Side.
Oh, Romero didn't work on that?
No, but Stephen King, I believe, wrote one of the stories.
We did all three,
I think.
right?
Did he write all?
Yeah.
He
He
wrote.
wrote one Creepshow.
No, in Tales from the Dark Side, he did one of the stories.
Oh, one of the
Yeah.
stories.
And Stephen King always regards it as the third in the Creep shows. But anyway, Creepshow 1 and 2, love those movies.
Right.
Yeah, I love.
What's your
both of
favorite
them.
story in Creepshow?
I like the
1 and-
crate. Oh, actually, no. I kind
Adrian
of like
Barbeau,
the Ted Danson one's pretty
Yes.
good too.
Leslie Nielsen, Ted
Yeah,
Danson.
yeah.
Seeing
The
Leslie-
beach.
Yeah. Seeing Leslie Nielsen as like a
s-
bad guy,
yeah.
like just a villain, like, you know, he did such a great job.
My favorite is,
Pre-credit union
Yeah.
commercial.
R.I.P.
Leslie Nielsen.
you know, he was in Scary
that was
Movie
really
3
good.
and 4.
That's right.
Um,
Some people didn't know that.
Yeah.
The crate with Adrian Barbeau. Yeah, that was really cool.
That
too.
was great, too.
I like
My
the
favorite-
oh, go ahead.
my favorite is the Blob. That's out in the water.
That's actually the one I was going to mention.
Oh.
Did you know that was filmed here
Was it?
in Arizona?
Which
It's
body
some
of
lake up
water?
north, or actually like more like a reservoir, or
One of
like a
our
pond or
few
something.
bodies of water.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of water here in the desert, but up north, yeah, I believe that was actually shot in Arizona.
The thing I remember, that's in Creepshow 2. The thing I remember about it is my sisters were on the floor laying down watching this movie. I was on the couch and my parents were out for the night. We rented this movie and spoiler alert, but there's like this blob of
It almost looks like
muck.
almost like an oil stain.
Yeah, like an oil slick out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it slowly comes towards this group of teens who are out there like skinny dipping or swimming or whatever. And it kills one by one, kills all of them. Well, there's 2 teens left, and the guy basically sacrifices the girl, and he swims for the shore, and he gets to the shore, and he's like, I beat you, motherfucker. And right as he says that, the motherfucking blob comes out of the water and like gets him.
Yeah.
When that thing jumps out of the water, my sisters must have jumped 3 feet in the air and they screamed so loud and I laughed my ass off.
Slightly off subject, but you know what my favorite I beat you line is? Is from Drag Me to Hell. Do you remember when she like digs up the lady at the end? And then she like gives her back the coin or whatever. She's like, I beat you, bitch. I love that. Not Stephen King.
Creepshow 1 and 2 were on my list. You know what else was on my list? The Mist. Did you ever see that one?
I haven't seen them.
I've seen parts of it. I have not seen the whole movie.
So have you seen the end?
I don't think so.
Oh, can I spoil it?
Go ahead.
All right. So there's this fucking mist.
and
The
people
fucking
get
mist.
misted.
There's this mist that envelops this town, and there's like these creatures inside of this fucking mist, and they're like caught in this grocery store.
Yeah.
And they're
remember that
fighting
part.
these creatures or whatever. It's kind of good, whatever. Anyway, so this dude like starts driving away with his kid, and he's like, we're fucked. So he's going to kill his kid and kill himself. And he kills his kid. And
Jesus.
right before he kills himself, like the mist dissipates and the like emergency forces like come and they save him.
That's pretty fucked up.
It's really fucked up
That's
because
awful. I just killed my kid.
yeah, I just killed my kid. That brings me back to the
sorry.
rapture actually, because in the rapture, that's what happens. She kills her kid.
Yeah.
And then she's like, fuck you, God. And then God's like, I'll give you another chance. And she's like, fuck you, God. And then she's out on that fucking island by herself. It's Virginia Madsen, by the way. That's the actress who's in
okay.
that
I like
movie.
Virginia
It's
Madsen.
Virginia Madsen and David. Is it Virginia Madsen? Now I'm second guessing
Oh,
myself.
man.
Let's just say it's Virginia Madsen.
Is that Michael Madsen's sister?
Yeah.
Sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's Virginia Madsen and David Duchovny. God, I'm totally wrong. It's not Virginia Madsen. You
No.
know who it is?
Who?
Was married to Tom Cruise before Nicole
Kidman?
Kidman?
Ooh.
It's that chick, Mimi Rogers.
Mimi Rogers?
That's who it was, not Virginia Madsen. God, I apologize to both those actresses. Not that either one is better than the other, but it was Mimi Rogers and David Duchovny in the movie The Rapture. And Mimi Rogers is the one who says, fuck you, God. And she's stuck on the island forever.
man.
Moving right along. We talked about it. We talked about Misery. We talked about Pet Sematary and Gage being the fucking creepiest. You know what else is creepy in that movie? the aunt or the sister of the wife who's got like scoliosis.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or whatever she's got, spinal bifida.
The movie's got Herman Munster in it too, right?
Yeah, Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I said.
Oh yeah.
The Shining, Carrie, Christine, Cujo. Any thoughts on that? I thought that movie was
It's been too
shit.
long.
Yeah.
My wife wrote down for me Silver Bullet because she really loves that movie.
Corey Haim, right, in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and it's it's not a vampire, a werewolf
movie. I don't remember that movie very well, but I remember liking it.
They shoot the dude in the eye, and then they shoot the werewolf in the eye, and then he comes back and he's a human and he doesn't have an eye. It's like, oh, I wonder if he's the werewolf.
I just remember I went through a werewolf phase where I watched like we're all young. We go, try new things. You go through your werewolf phase.
You watch Teen Wolf all the time.
You're like Teen Wolf 2. And,
David didn't watch it. He lived it.
I was out there doing handstands on vans and shit.
Doing backflip.
Hanging out with
NBA
guys
Jam
named
dunks.
Styles.
Just bought a bunch of
Dating chicks named Boof.
Just bought a bunch of spirit gum. Glued fake
No, but I
hair.
just remember watching like American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
And The Howling and Silver Bullet, kind of all around the same time. And I just
Michael
remember,
Jackson's Thriller.
and I just remember Silver Bullet. And even though I enjoyed it, it was at the bottom of that list.
Yeah,
Oh.
of course.
Yeah.
A movie that I really enjoyed when I was growing up was Children of the Corn, and I watched it after I was not a kid. When I was older,
Yeah,
and
I
was
saw
like,
it. I was older too.
holy shit, this movie sucks.
I was gonna say, I do not like Children of the
But
Corn.
when I was a kid, that movie scared the bejesus out of me. Linda Hamilton stars in that, and then
And Christopher Reeve,
Christopher
right?
Reeve. Isn't it?
Yeah,
no, it's not Christopher
isn't
Reeve.
Christopher Reeve in that?
No,
Oh, that's Children of the Damned.
no, that's Village
Oh,
of the
Village
Damned.
of the Damned.
Village of
Yes,
the
yes,
Damned.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
God.
Linda Hamilton.
Hey, we're not perfect.
Hey.
Yeah, you guys definitely aren't perfect. The guy in it, I forget who the guy is, but it's somebody, and it'll come to me. But it's Virginia Madsen.
Yeah. Mimi Rogers.
It's Mimi Rogers. It's Fred Rogers,
We're not perfect.
Mr. Rogers.
It's Herman Munster.
No, it's Malachi. It's the kid from the Burbs, Hans Christian Andersen.
It's Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
Where are you
Where
going?
are you going? Slips in dog shit.
What's that kid's name again?
Courtney Gaines.
He plays Malachi. Oh, he's creepy.
He
And
is
then there's
creepy.
Job. The children, Job and Malachi are really creepy. But
Those are biblical names too.
well, it's all
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is it's this biblical town where the kids like actually killed all the adults. And yeah, it really is stupid, isn't it?
It's not a good movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember not liking it.
I remember trying to. We lived next to a cornfield in Wisconsin, and I remember trying to scare my sisters. And I grabbed a sickle,
Uh-huh.
and I went outside the window and I tapped on it, and I like walked by with just the sickle like showing, and they were like, "Brett, get your ass inside." They weren't scared.
Thinking of Stephen King movies that I maybe not so good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
There's a few.
Well, wait a second. We should preface and say it's not Stephen King's fault.
Yeah. Well, this one is because he directed it.
Well, fuck.
It's the only movie he directed. So when I was a kid, this is weird. I was actually thinking about this morning and how strange this is. I really, really wanted to see Maximum Overdrive when it first came out. And the weird part is that I looked at when that movie was released, and it was, I think, July of 1986. So I would have been 5 years old.
What?
Yeah. And I really wanted to see it. So I don't know if
Who's
it was
in that?
Emilio Estevez.
I was gonna say.
I don't know if it was like a commercial or a poster. I just remember
just loved
the main
Emilio.
truck, like with the goblin,
Yeah.
the green goblin face on it. Like for whatever reason, that really pulled me in, and I wanted to see it. Obviously, my parents would not let me see that movie as a 5-year-old. They were going to take me to the movies to go see it. So I literally, for the first time ever, watched Maximum Overdrive a couple nights ago.
And you loved
And
it.
what a steaming pile of shit that movie is. It was just awful. It's
Isn't it
terrible.
just about appliances that come to life?
Yeah, and
There's a UFO.
It wasn't a novel though. It was a screenplay. Like I don't think he wrote a book about it.
I don't
he
think
wrote
so,
an
but
original
he,
screenplay.
and he directed the movie.
Yeah.
And he has a cameo in the very beginning of the movie. He uses an ATM, and the ATM says, "You are an asshole." And then
That's
I
what they
read
do.
online that apparently Stephen King was coked out of his mind the entire time he was directing the movie.
Yeah. I don't think he's very happy with it too.
No, but
why would he?
Yeah.
that was a 32-year journey for me to see it, and it just ended in heartbreak. It is an abysmal, awful, steamy shit movie.
Yeah.
Don't see it.
I think one of the worst Stephen King movies I ever saw, and not Maximum Overdrive, Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man. Pierce
Was-
Brosnan.
Oh God, that movie sucked. I saw that in the theater.
You remember the effects?
I remember the effects
thinking-
were really good at the time.
Yeah,
and
at the time.
I really wanted to see it, but my parents wouldn't let me see it. And when I
Yeah.
finally did, I was like, yeah, this movie's
I
terrible.
remember thinking at the time, like, virtual reality.
This is the future.
This is the future. And here we are 30 years later, and I'm like, there's no fucking virtual reality.
Yeah.
Not like that. Not
Yeah.
like fucking Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, now it's like put on a visor and
Yeah.
and go on a roller coaster.
Yeah. And collect some Pokemon.
Yeah.
Go to some of those virtual reality goggles at Sharper
Dumb.
Image.
Yeah. Oh.
Ugh.
You got a worst.
No, I was gonna say Maximum Overdrive as well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
There's also Sleepwalkers,
Sleepwalkers.
which is the cat people, the mom and son who have sex together. That's a good one. Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher.
I only saw it once, and to be
Regret
honest,
it?
I remember liking it.
Yeah.
but,
Oh,
but it was
God.
this was like right when it came out.
No, I
Yeah.
saw it because I love
I'd have to-
Jason.
I'd have
That
to
Lee.
was
watch it again.
2003. And I remember watching it then too. I barely remember it, but I remember liking it as well.
I saw it because I really like Jason Lee, and he was in it. And then I was like, this movie sucks.
Yeah, Alan and I are going to go back and watch it now,
Yeah.
and we're going to feel really stupid.
Yeah,
that
you
we've
are.
committed like,
it
on the
sucks.
show that we liked the movie, and we're like, oh, this movie's terrible.
Secret Window. What'd you guys think?
That's the one with Johnny Depp,
Yep.
You stole my story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and John Turturro, right?
yeah.
Yeah, John Turturro.
I liked that movie.
It was creepy.
I thought it was good.
You
Yeah.
know, I really liked it, but I also find that movie doesn't have a whole lot of replay value once you've seen it.
Once you've seen
I
it,
I
yeah.
saw it in the theater and I thought it was a really good movie, and then I bought it and I watched it once and I was like, this movie's okay.
What
Yeah.
about Room 1408?
I had not seen
I have not
it.
seen that one.
It was with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson.
Wait, no, you said John Cusack. I thought of something else.
I believe it's called Room 1408.
Is that the one
Sounds right.
where
Or
they're-
it's just called 1408.
is that the one where they all have the same birthday?
No,
What
that's
is
a
that?
different one. That's not Stephen
That's
King.
not Stephen
Oh,
King.
that's
right?
That's Identity.
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 That's a
okay.
good movie.
Yeah. Ray
should talk about
Liotta's
that
in that
sometime.
too.
We should, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might watch
Yeah.
that tonight.
Yeah, Ray Liotta,
Yeah.
Yeah,
John Cusack,
that was a good
Yeah.
movie.
Virginia Madsen, and Mimi Rogers. I think both have a special appearance.
Wasn't Herman
Leslie Nielsen?
Herman Munster was in it as well.
Leslie
if I
Nielsen
remember
was dead.
correctly. There's like a weird, yeah.
What if there's a movie with Mimi Rogers, Virginia Madsen, Leslie Nielsen, and Fred Gwynn?
The world would end. Like
Well, if you have
the rapture would begin.
The Rapture was a scary movie. If you have a favorite Stephen King movie or a movie that creeps you out, or any thoughts on Suspiria, you can contact us. How can they contact us, David?
You can follow us on Twitter at the Swearwolves. You can follow us on Facebook. We are the Swearwolves. You can go to our website, www.theswearwolves.com, or you can email us directly at swearwolvespodcast@gmail.com.
All right. And for the Swearwolves, I'm Brett,
I'm David.
I'm Alan.
and Suspiria sucks.
We'll see you
Hey.
next week. Hey, quick
Oh,
shout out.
yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about the new Halloween movie. So it comes out on Friday. We're going to see it Friday. We're going to sit down and talk about it Saturday. And by Monday, there will be an episode out ready. And we hope to like the movie. And we look forward to giving you guys our honest opinion about the movie. So stay tuned and be sure to check in next week when we discuss
Yeah.
Halloween.
From the way it looks, our expectations are high.
Yeah. So
Which means it's going to suck.
Maximum Overdrive Part 2.
All right, see you next week, guys.